Hi, everybody. Welcome to Satsang with Chuck and Angie and Judah and company, whoever else might show up. We're glad you're here. I'm going to sing a song and then we're going to jump in. Tonight, we're going to be talking about breaking free of painful relationships, converting the struggles of our 4D relationships into higher 5D relationships. First, I'll sing a song that I wrote for you. I am a song lived line by line, written one verse at a time, a rhythm begging for a rhyme, a tempo looking for a sign. My memories weave the melody like lyrics spinning through a dream. Scribbled words on a page, they will not rest until they're played. And the high notes flow like a waterfall, while the low notes lay on me like stones. But I had to sing them all. Their harmony will be my song. Yes, I have to sing them all. Their harmony will be my song. Sometimes I'm a chorus worthy of a repeat. Other times I'm a solo, low and sad and sweet. One day I'll be a bridge where you and I will meet. I am a song lived line by line. So thanks for being here tonight, guys. We're going to invite Judah and anybody else that wants to come and channel tonight. And talk about relationships. We're all probably in them, and if we're not, it's probably because we haven't liked the ones we've been in, and we're hiding out. Or there may be other reasons too. And relationships can be, of course, really complicated and challenging, but they are the stuff of spiritual experience. They are actually the real place where we don't just talk about, think about, hypothesize, and put on about being spiritual. Is the place where we find out if we're really as spiritual as we think we are or not. And it's just our proving ground. It's our boot camp. And it's, I think, probably one of the reasons why we came to this earth. So before we jump into channeling, I want to quickly show you a couple of, you're going to love, this is my former elementary school teacher person showing up here. So pardon my elementary drawings. But I drew a couple of things for tonight that we're going to be talking about. So if you hear Judah talking about triangles, you'll know what we're speaking of here. And I did insert these in a link for you below. So if you want to have access to these later, you can grab a hold of them and print them out or save them somewhere. So this triangle idea originated with a man named Cartman, and it's originally called the Cartman drama triangle. But I want to tell you, I've been familiar with this concept for many years, but with Jude, I'm really going deeper into it. It's been a great mirror for soul work for me and showing me where I'm at and where I need to grow and how I can shift. And so I wrote 4D here. If you've been following us, you know that when Judah talks about 4D, we're talking about the part of you that is your thoughts and emotions, your life experiences, where you were born, who you were born to, how many siblings you had or didn't have, your educational background, all the things that make you you, all the things that give you a completely unique and different perspective from anybody else on the planet. That's your 4D self. We think of that as your personality or your personality type or your skill set, whether you're introverted, extroverted, all those good things. That's the 4D you, your thoughts and emotions. But as Judah's been teaching us, 4D is not the same as 5D, and it's not really who we are. It's an overlay. It's an overlay on top of who we really are. Who we really are is our fifth dimensional self, which is our eternal part, our soul. It's the part of us that existed before we came to be in our mother's womb, and the part of us that will go on existing after we die. And that fifth dimensional part of us is the part of us that's like the angels, that's like Judah, that's like Jesus and the Buddha and other enlightened beings. It's the part of us that is perfect, that is sinless, that is most like God, that embodies God, that is connected to God and to universal consciousness. So a lot of what we've been talking about, especially if you're taking the course with us, you know, we're talking about how do we bring this 5D person that we are, soul that we are, that's so vast and magnificent, into our everyday life. So going back for a moment, and then we're gonna jump in and let Judah channel on these things. One of the things that I learned about myself many years ago is that I get into drama with people. And I get an amen. Anybody else out there that gets into drama with people? Sometimes I'm the instigator. Sometimes I just see some drama and somehow I manage to get mixed up in it. But anytime you have three people in a room or three people in an exchange, there's the possibility for you to act out this drama triangle. And there are three different roles that happen in this drama triangle. There's rescuer, which you could also think of as the savior, or the hero, the firstborn. Any of those ring a bell? The persecutor, this is the person that's usually mad, that feels wronged, that's got something to say. They're on a soapbox. They're going to right the injustices going on in the situation. They're mad. That's the persecutor. And then there's the victim. Oh, woe is me. Everybody's on my back. Oh, poor me, and so on and so on. And so I'm really good at playing all of these roles, actually, as Chuck would attest. You would agree, right, sweetie? He's like, don't bring me into it.
Don't bring me into this.
Yeah, he's laughing. He knows I can play all of these roles really, really well. But I have a kind of a go-to place for jumping in on this triangle, and it's usually rescuing. So let's see, what would be a way that I would rescue, like with my kids, right? My grown kids, like letting them rent an apartment we have really cheap or something like that. So here's mom, she jumps in to the rescuer, and then guess what? Eventually, mom will move over to this persecutor. Wow, they just this and that and the other and don't appreciate and didn't do right and la, 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 la. And then I'm feeling victimized by the situation or by the child or whatever. And see, so the thing about this triangle is you can just run around and around and around. You can switch roles every few days or months or years or even every few minutes. And so when you get aware of this pattern, you can begin to see what your ego's doing in relationships. And now Judah's going to talk to us about that and about how we're going to shift it. So we can begin shifting this by getting a higher perspective, and that is we're going to stop rescuing people. And instead, when the opportunity's right and intuitive and sourced and resourced by angels and by our higher self, we're going to coach instead of rescuing, coach. And we're going to challenge rather than persecuting. And we're going to create our own reality rather than playing the victim. And if we're in this coaching or challenging role with someone else who's victimized, either truly or feeling victimized, we're going to instead point the way of how they can be the creator of something new for themselves. So here we go. Let's channel. You have anything on that so far? All right. So they're in the links below. Saw my flags flying there. All right, here we go. Hello, dear ones. Welcome. Yes, we are here to talk about relationships. And if you have one, you might wish you didn't. And if you don't have one, you might wish that you did. And isn't this the way of relationships? And those who are lonely wish they had someone to share their life with. And then sometimes you find the one that you think you want to spend the rest of your life with and you really want out. Isn't that the way of it? And so we're going to talk about triangles of the ego, of the egoic nature, and how we get tricked into to trauma and drama by our own egoic nature, and also sometimes lured in by others. And we are iron sharpening iron and working together to soften our triangular edges in relationship. And we're also going to talk about how you can flip the triangle into those God kind of triangles that you really want. But first, we want to talk about why 3? Why 3? Why not 4 or 5 or 2 or so on? Why are triangles so magnetic and pervasive in relationships for everyone? Well, first of all, the one splits into 2 in the womb. The 2, it's the 2, the seed of the mother and the father that come together to make the 1. And then there's a splitting off, a flowering from there. But in relationships, when the ego surfaces for clearing, which is a major purpose for relationships, it is for spiritual growth, it is for a challenging and a button pushing of your egoic structures so they can be transformed. And so you can be less of that and more of the God, 5th dimensional being that you are. So in the 2 come together, and there can be a rubbing and a bumping of egoic parts and fearful parts and provoking of one another. And when it gets just a little bit too much, the 2 will reach out to pull in a third party. Why? Well, it's very simple. Imagine yourself right now in this moment trying to sit on a 2-legged stool. What are the chances that you would remain upright very long on a 2-legged stool? Well, not very good. It is that third leg that adds the support and the stability for you to sit upright without falling over. And so there is an instinct to pull in a third. And this is, we can't go into all of it, but it has to do with some of the basic instinct of survival and the reason why many couplings decide to have a child, to have that third, which brings the stability to the triangle. Now, this is why many in relationships get to a difficult point where there's friction and difficulty, and one reaches out and pulls in a third in the party of a mistress or a lover on the side, you see. And why do they do it against their better judgment? Because it stabilizes what is unstable. And don't misunderstand, we're not saying that's the way to go necessarily. We're saying that's why it happens and why it is so very common. So here we have 3. Once there are 3 in this triangle of the egoic nature, trust me, trust us in this. You are playing one of the 3 roles then, the rescuer, the victim, or the persecutor. And as soon as a third party is involved in the triangle, 2 will feel connected and a third will feel on the outside. So in the triangle, there are 2 insiders and 1 outsider. 2 insiders and 1 outsider. And that can also shift, where the one who's feeling on the inside will then suddenly feel on the outside. And you can see this play out constantly within minutes, hours, as we said, weeks, months, or years. This vessel remembers when one of her children were brand new drivers, and she got a phone call. Mom, my car is broken down in this very busy intersection. Can you help me, please? And of course, as mothers do, she was frightened and immediately stepped onto the drama triangle of rescuer. Now, never mind that the child had allowed themselves to run out of gas. Mom to the rescue. And so she came and she got a gas can and got some gas and helped the child. And it was a very busy intersection, and it was a very dangerous situation, very unpleasant. Gave the child some gas, and then off the child went. And there she stood in the busy intersection with her car. Now released, she was done with her rescue, ready to go home. And guess what? She was mad. She moved right from rescuer to persecutor. Boy, was she mad. And guess who she was mad at? Mad at the very child she had rescued had been irresponsibly let themselves run out of gas. And then just as quickly as she moved to that segment of the triangle, she moved to the victim. Poor me, look at me. Look what my child has done. Look what I've done to myself. Look how I've let myself get sucked in again to rescuing. You see? Now, when you stay off of this egoic triangle, you feel at peace. You're minding your own business. You're taking care of your own business. You are being responsible to yourself and to your higher self and to what is important and valid to you. And you are living up to your true responsibilities to others. And if you do help, and if you do offer assistance, it is not in expecting any sort of repayment or any sort of pats on the back or so on. You're doing it strictly from a place of love. And therefore, when you are done with your helping, you do not feel victimized and you do not feel angry or resentful. There is a difference between real helping and codependent rescuing, you see. And so we're not saying don't ever help or don't ever rescue. Obviously, if your child is in the traffic and in danger and you want to help, please do. But this triangle is more about the 4D realities of how you process what happens in your relationship through your thoughts and emotions than it is about the 3D reality of the circumstance. Now, when you are not on this triangle, you are simply centered in source, centered in peace, centered in a relaxed state of allowing what is, allowing others to be what they are, just letting them be what they are, not needing to fix or change, manipulate, influence, cheer them on or whatever, but just letting them be what they are. Now, how do you begin shifting it? If you find yourself in the middle of a triangle, how do you begin shifting it? First, know what your role is. First of all, you must change. Well, we will say this. If you are on this 4D egoic triangle, you most certainly will eventually wind up in the victim spot, feeling victimized by this drama that you are allowing yourself to participate in. So the first shift you may make is this. You look at the situation and you ask yourself, how can I create what I want in this situation? How can I create something different here? And you begin to look towards what you want to create differently. Not for the other, for yourself. And if you're already in a tangle, if you're already on the triangle and you're getting pulled forward and around it, can you shift what you're doing rather than rescuing? Can you challenge the other to be the creator of a different outcome for themselves? Can you challenge them if they are playing the victim? Can you challenge them to see how they have created the situation for themselves and how they can shift it to something different? Even the parts they feel powerless about, or perhaps have even been a true victim of others. How can they shift, shift, shift? There are mothers and fathers and loved ones who do this everywhere, all over the country. They lose a child, let's say to a school shooting, and now there are certain advocates that would be very frightened to see these mothers and fathers coming, because these mothers and fathers are becoming the creator of a new future for themselves, and not just themselves, but for many, many other children, not their own. And they're doing it. Their child was a true victim, but they have chosen not to be a victim. They have chosen to create a new and different future, you see. So real victims, if you are a real victim, we would just say, once you're past a certain age, once you are aware, it is your choice. You may continue to suffer, or you may, in your suffering, begin to shift towards being a creator of something new and different for yourself and others. And persecuting. Can you shift when you have that desire to persecute? Can you release and instead challenge and become a coach, sharing your own experience, but not telling others what to do, allowing them the dignity of coming to their own conclusions, allowing them the dignity of their own spiritual path, their own failings. For you see, if you are the rescuer and you are the one with all the wisdom, then how have they learned to trust the God in them? How have they learned to trust and lean on their higher self? How have they become mature creators of their own reality? If you're their savior, how can they be the creator? And we understand this is challenging because the more the people get involved in these scenarios, they are like billiard balls bouncing around on a table. And if you see, we would say as well, if you see a triangle unfolding for you, these being most common in families, let's say you see your partner and your child operating as the victim and the persecutor. Can you stay off the triangle? If the child is vulnerable and it is your responsibility as the parent to protect, can you do it without persecuting? Can you challenge the partner and at the same time coach your child as to how to speak up and use their own voice to create something new and different for themselves, you see? Now, there are more advantageous ways to operate in triangles. When there is tension between you and another that's very important to you, you can bring in a third party. No need for a lover or mistress. How about an angel? How about an enlightened being that can challenge your ego with a message of wisdom? How about a spiritual coach? How about a friend that works together with you in spiritual partnership to hold you accountable and show you, challenge you as to where you're playing the victim or the persecutor with your spouse, you see? So you can create intentional power triangles and begin to access the fifth dimensional parts of yourself to shift the dynamic. And you say, yes, but what about them, and what about them, and what about them, and so on and so on and so on. And blaming will never get you anywhere at all. Your best bet is to step off the triangle until you're reoriented with your higher self. Step off altogether. Silence is golden, as they say. And it doesn't have to be a steely, sort of angry silence. It can be an honest silence. You know, I'm really at odds right now. I'm really out of sorts, and I need some time to meditate and sort out what part of this is my business. And ultimately, as you're aware of the triangle, to be fifth dimensional in nature in these triangles is to see that, understand that you are the creator of your own reality, and whatever the others on the triangle are doing is mirroring back to you some part of yourself, a part of yourself that deserves your love and your acceptance and deserves to be integrated. They are showing you something about yourself that you may not want to look at. But if you can embrace it and say, oh, I see, I have created this dynamic. And I don't understand how or why I did it, but I know that there's a higher purpose for it. And I'm going to buy the truth right here. And I'm not going to return it with a receipt and a 30-day refund policy. I'm going to buy the truth about my part right here. And in that, my dear, you'll be set free. You'll be set free to create something new and different. And call in your angels and your spirit guides to stabilize the unsteady relationships. For there are so many triangles. One of the most famous, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Trinity. And there are more, like the beautiful Pleiadian sisters, the three sisters that operate together in perfect unity. And this is a possibility for you as well. Do you have anything, sweetie? Okay, let's do a question. And maybe if you think of anything, shout it out. Yeah, and then maybe we'll even ask the Pleiadians for some help and assistance with relationships. I lost my glasses, sweetie. All right, let's see if I can read this,
Did you bring them in here?
Okay, let's see if I can read this, you guys. No. I don't know, guys. We might have to save this for next week. Chuck's going to get my glasses. We need to do a light language transmission for healing eyesight, right? For sure. Okay. All right, I think I can start reading some of it. Oh, you got them? Oh, those aren't readers. Thanks anyway, sweetie. Oh, I found some. Here we go. All right, that's on my list when I hire an assistant one day. Make sure I have glasses. Here we go. This is from Kat. She said, hi, family. I feel like recently I was given the information that some of the issues that plague the females in my family are likened to generational curses or ancestral trauma and karma, all that ugly stuff. Recently, my 4-year-old granddaughter is exhibiting blackout anger and saying that she didn't mean to, whatever the shocking or hurtful thing is that she did. Speaking with her mom last night, we both understood exactly what it felt like. I also was told that this is the generation in which we will break this cycle. Now, I know that this is not just us, it's everyone. Is that correct? Yes. Any perspectives on how to lead this new generation of girls? Yes, definitely. It also feels that this caused the cancer in my family. That makes me a bit sad, but I understand more about that now. I love you all so much, Kat. We love you too, Kat. All right, so I want a particular channel about any perspectives on how to lead this new generation of girls. Well, I'll share this. One of the things that I learned from Judah is that when we have these little precious ones in our lives and they're really struggling with certain behaviors, and I believe when she says she didn't mean to. As a matter of fact, when I hit my late 40s and 50s, I began to act out in anger sometimes and really just feel like I really truly was giving it my very best and could not control it. I know that there are people out there going through that. For me, and I know Chuck probably has some things to add to this, I've found for me that it is old karmic issues sometimes that are compounded from many, many years. I'm sorry, not many years, but many lifetimes. And so sometimes we don't really have all the backstory about why we or our children or grandchildren are acting out in certain ways. And we don't necessarily need it. We just want that energy to be permanently removed. And I just join my agreement with you that this is going to be the generation for your granddaughter that's going to happen. And as for, how to lead this new generation of girls, what I'm understanding from Judah is that when I see these behaviors in my children or my children's children, to understand that they are mirroring to me and mirroring to their parents parts of us, of our soul, of our heart, that we have been stuffing, burying, repressing, don't want to look at, don't want to admit, don't want to tell the truth about. And so they are acting out for us what we're unwilling to face in ourselves. And this is their gift to us, is that they're holding up the mirror so that we can see who we really are. And when we really deal on a deep subconscious root level with those issues in us, suddenly the little bitty ones, they get free, they get free, they get free. So if my child, no matter what their age, is acting out, let's say traumatic anger or blackouts, I know that they're showing something in me, and perhaps other parents and family members as well, some anger in me. So rather than focusing on the child, yes, I'm going to do what I need to do to love the child, forgive the child, and keep this child safe, listen to the child. But my primary work is to get in meditation, discover my anger, get angels on board to help, and begin dealing with the root cause there. And then I will see a transformation begin to happen with the child. You have anything on that, sweetie? Yeah, I know Coach's got some good stuff on that. Go ahead.
Well, and a much simpler, less complex thing is, what food are they eating? I can't tell you how many kids I've had that came in that had ADHD and ADD and other things like that, and it was all about their diet. Too much sugar. Sugar can cause inflammation in the body, can irritate you, and it can wear you out, and that's why sometimes kids will behave that way. So we have to remember that children come out with this pure liver, and they immediately start eating the foods that have all kinds of toxins in them. Gluten, white sugar, dairy. A lot of times people don't understand that cow's milk is not good for human beings. We've been brainwashed into thinking it is. If Mother Nature wanted a child to have milk after the age of 3, then the mother would be breastfeeding till whatever time it was time to stop. No other species drinks another species' milk. It's to turn a 35-pound calf into a 350-pound cow. So So that's one of the things to look at, which can be part of the problem or the problem. And then sometimes the child will be picking up and acting out what's going on in the family.
Mhm.
They're little sponges. Whatever energy is going on in the household, they will pick it up and act it out.
Mhm. Yeah. And Chuck taught me that even that when we first, after my divorce, my dogs were very nervous and anxious a lot of the time, and even had developed, different health problems and things. And it was because of the energy in our household. It was actually making the dogs sick. And so I agree with that. So there's a good area, Kat, and whoever else is listening. How do you know what the problem is? Well, you can muscle test and you feel it instinctively, intuitively. Like, you might have not related to anything that I just said, but as soon as Chuck started talking about food, it might have clicked for you. Oh yeah, that's it. So go ahead, sweetie.
Well, it doesn't have to be that hard. Just look at what they're eating. Are they getting sugar? I had one child that had ADHD, and I kept telling them the child wasn't getting better with what I was doing. I kept telling the mother, "Are you sure she's not getting any sugar?" And she said, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "Certainly seems like sugar." And after coming many, many times and getting no result, one time she came in and said, "We looked underneath her bed and we found all these candy bars and all this sugar that she had been getting at school. So this whole time she'd been eating sugar."
Oops. All right. So let's go back in with Judah. We're going to ask for, well, let's see what we can get help for here. So this sweet baby, 4-year-old baby, who's having blackout anger. Let's just ask for help for that. Hello, dear ones. Yes, we care very much for this little one. And this little one is very angry. She is angry because she's very sad. Listen carefully to what this child has to say, not when she's in the fit of rage, but before and after. And lots of love, lots of love, lots of love. For there is a tendency for the situation itself, even if the loving adults in the situation are not shaming the child will internally tend to feel shame because of the level of the acting out. And this is painful for her to feel so out of control. There is a powerlessness that comes from the anger, but underneath it is a sadness. So begin to look for this sadness. And this we will say as well. Sometimes parents and grandparents immediately go to blaming themselves or the other partner or significant adults involved. But sometimes these situations are, as the gentleman said, related to diet and also sometimes related to past life trauma. And you may not ever have the exact information about what that past life trauma is that caused the sadness. But we're just going to go right here, right now, and we're going to put our loving angelic finger on that sadness of the heart of that precious little one, right there, right there, right there, right there. We put our finger on her heart and we say, "Dear one, we love you. We love you. It's okay. We've got you. And we've got you. And it is okay to release your sadness now." And we clear that sadness out from past, present, parallel, future lives in all realms of time and space. All realms of time and space, we uproot the sadness and the wrath, the rage and anger. We pull it up and we release this child from every dark entity that would torment her. We release her from every karmic propensity. We say she's free. She does not have to suffer, and there is nothing that she must pay for in this life or in past lives. We pronounce her clean, clear, forgiven, not guilty on all counts. And yes, we ask that you would give the child a very pure diet to allow her the sustaining power to regulate her emotions and stabilize, relax into love and comfort. And yes, the gentleman is correct. The child is comforting herself to some degree with food when she can because she hurts inside. So give her lots of comfort, and as much as you can, give her food that is imbued with your love and your blessing and with health. And begin to call on angels, on ourselves or any other angels with which you have kinship and relationship, to surround the child and especially to buffer her when her emotions are out of control. And the child is not able to control her emotions at this time, and neither should she be required to, as you know. And we appreciate your sensitivity in this matter. So give her a very, as much as is possible, a very safe place to fully experience her emotions with the reassurance to her that you love her as she is. She does not have to be good to earn your love. And now, Kat, we're going to speak to you, to all the women in your family, your matriarchs, you as the matriarch, your children and grandchildren, your sisters and aunts, every female in your family. And we proclaim today is your day of freedom from all lies and subconscious beliefs of disempowerment, disenfranchisement, weakness, ignorance, and every other ugly thing that has been spoken over any woman in your family, in any generation, past, present, parallel, and future realities. And may you be a hallmark and a pillar of freedom, right standing, justice, strength, and courage for women in your family and far beyond. And blaze the trail, my dear. Continue blazing the trail for your daughter and granddaughter. And fight for your freedom, the freedom of your soul, and the more of it that you lay claim to, the wider shall be the path of freedom for this young one. Go ahead.
And this is for everybody when it comes to food. Remember, whatever emotion the person who is fixing that food has going on in their body goes into that food. So when you go to a fast food restaurant and you have somebody back there who is angry and hot and irritable and who does drugs and other things, fixing your food, that's what goes into your food. So this is why mother's food is usually the best because it's prepared with love. And if somebody is feeling angry or sad or anything, when it's time to fix dinner, take a few deep breaths, a couple of minutes of meditating, remember a beautiful time in your life, fill yourself with love to put love into that food.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yes, exactly. Yes, and let's ask the Pleiadians for a transmission around relationships. And before we do that, I'll just kind of, Chuck and I, we had a situation, I guess just a week or so ago, where I ate some chicken from somewhere. And within an hour or two, I started feeling super, super anxious and really out of character for myself. And when we started asking about it, Judah was telling us that it was the meat that I had eaten. Evidently, the particular sweet little chicken that I ate had been through a lot of terror or torment or had a lot of adrenaline running through their body when they died. And so I took that energy into my body. So a lot of you guys may not ever experience that. That could be just something unique to me. But I do think there are other people that probably take on the emotions or the energies of different foods that they eat like that.
Yes, but the higher your vibration, the less tolerable it'll be in your body, because the foods of lower vibrations will affect you, can lower your vibration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so another thought to consider too, Kat, is that sometimes with some of these children that are just uber sensitive and emotional, it's because they're psychic, for lack of a better word, and they're very spiritually oriented. They sense energies. They pick up other people's energies in the rooms. Sometimes they're not really sure whether what they're feeling is their energy and emotion or somebody else's, and they can easily be overwhelmed. One of my children was a very quiet, sweet, easygoing baby, but every now and then somebody would just walk into a room. We would be in a public place, and somebody unusual or different, new, would walk into the door, and he would just immediately start screaming and just scream his head off until that person would walk out. And he's still a very super sensitive kid. So that's a possibility to consider as well. All right, let's go up a little higher. Let's talk to the Pleiadians. We want to ask for anything they have to give us around these issues tonight. Hello, dear ones, Pleiadian sisters here. And yes, we would like to give a light language transmission to assist you in elevating your perspectives around your relationships, particularly any that are very important to you, in which you feel stuck in negative patterns of response. And here we go. We are and we are utaka why and we sa I ore to utaka I ushva it's tora utaka ratata ushti to reitan to yere utaka atata atiko untai chicken di oto utaka I te ha here ha kete ha icha ret utaka isakate ushitika and you see, dear one, it's different. It's fine for you to be something different than what you've been in the relationship. No matter how many years you've been in the relationship, it is okay for you to begin to shift your dynamic and the role that you play. You do not have to be held to a certain role just because you have played that role for a very long time. And when the ones who love you say to you, oh, you have changed, be excited, be happy, because you are being elevated in your perspective and in the way you relate. I should know I see at the sata etaka ashi to itike yada eku at the usakata hey shitike okata I and dear ones, you are the creator of your relationships and all of your realities within your relationships. So begin to create loving, compassionate, supportive relationships for yourself. Ocha ichiki iti itu. Ate taka a wo aneka oshana ateka te. Ote ita itaka ata sata taka ai. Ochika otaka achika ta anteka. And we also would like to give a special transmission for grandmothers. Grandmothers who see errors made, things that they would do differently if they could and cannot, but we say you actually can. We're going to endow you with this special transmission to begin to rewrite the things that you wish you had done differently with your children. You will rewrite them. You will make wrongs into justice, and you will rewrite them with the love that you give your adult children and your grandchildren, and you will rise up in wisdom and understanding and just a raw visceral power for shifting relational dynamics and unhealthy dynamics in the bloodlines of your families. And here we go, a blessing for grandmothers to rewrite their past, the past of their children and grandchildren, and the futures of their children and grandchildren. Sana anana shida I in it in a hate you need to chicar to in the guy sick day chico ta nikiti utsanate o shatata takate gochen and a kitty Otsanana mashte takatai ti oto no kota ataka each day o sa tu kutana una ete oroto oto koto ashita te. And your grandmothers, your white hairs are so strong in the spirit. They are like lassos to bring back your lost children and grandchildren. And your beautiful white hairs are so strong, they are like cracking a whip on the back of every evil thing that would come against them. Yes. And yes, grandmothers, keep baking those cookies and keep making those loving foods and feed them to the ones you care for with love. And as you do, imagine the love filling every cell of their bodies and rewriting their past, their present, and their future with a glorious outcome aligned with source and aligned with their dharma and purpose. Icho anai itikai ite u achinaka ete. Yeah. Anything else before we go? Yeah, I love that part about the grandmothers. It reminded me that I've been doing some writing lately with Judah, and one of the things I discovered as I was writing is that many people that have visits from other beings besides angels, from beings of their loved ones that have passed on, most of the time is from their moms and their grandmas. So grandmas, don't ever fret. You always get to love and care for those sweet, precious ones that belong to you. Even from the other side, one day you'll get to be their angel, their grandma angel. All right. Thanks, all you guys. Love you so much. I'll see you next Sunday. It's a joy and an honor to have you here.